Dan, we are so lucky to live in central Kentucky, surrounded by beautiful horse farms. And one of the most scenic drives you can take is on Paris Pike between Lexington and Paris.
That's an old buffalo trace, Paris Pike is, and the history along there is so deep and fascinating, maybe nowhere more so than at Gainesway Farm.
Gainesway Farm was a standard-bred operation founded in 1944 by Clarence Gaines, here off Tates Creek Road in Lexington, where this suburb took its place in the 1950s. Gainesway Farm as we know it today is 1,500 acres of rich history along Paris Pike. John Gaines, son of Clarence, established Gainesway here in 1965.
The facility is magnificent. Behind me, over my left shoulder, of course, is the Whitney Farm.
Long before it ever went by the name Gainesway, the property belonged to the prominent and wealthy Whitney family. Gainesway General Manager Neil Howard says you can feel the history here.
You do, because you go by, there's a couple of cemeteries on the farm, and you go by there and you see the likes of the headstones of Peter Pan and some of the old Green Tree Foundation broodmares that are on the other side of the farm. Winning Colors is buried here.
Only 3 fillies have ever won the Kentucky Derby, and 2 of them are buried here. Winning Colors on the farm formerly known as Green Tree Stud, and Regret on the former C.V. Whitney farm. C.V. Whitney's widow, Mary Lou, still owns their home and 145 acres on this farm. In 2004, she won the Belmont Stakes to deny Smarty Jones the Triple Crown.
Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
Now Birdstone stands at stud at Gainesway. Standing Stallions was the primary focus for the man who made Gainesway one of the most recognizable names in the industry, John Gaines.
Well, he did change the game. I mean, he brought sires over here that people generally hadn't thought about. Got to the point where the Europeans, who were primarily breeding in Europe, then were breeding over here.
C.V. Whitney sold half of his farm to John Gaines in 1965. Planting Gainesway smack dab in the middle of the Whitney farm and the adjoining farm that C.V.'s cousin Jock owned, Green Tree Stud. Gainesway exploded into an operation that stood as many as 52 stallions at one time. Gaines had revolutionized the industry.
Well, there's no question. He was able to look far into the future more than most people, with the stallions he brought over and established. And then with the Breeders' Cup.
Gaines basically founded both the Breeders' Cup and the Kentucky Horse Park, and the barns he had built won awards for architecture.
Anyone who's seen these barns ever know immediately once they see the architecture where they are. And that's, people from all over the world come here to Gainesway.
Queen Elizabeth visited twice. Between Gainesway and the Whitneys, the list of dignitaries is absurd. Gaines' success was aided by another visionary.
Joe Taylor from years ago, the farm manager in conjunction with John Gaines. Those guys were ahead of their time.
Gaines' farm manager, Joe Taylor, implemented several innovative ideas that were copied throughout the industry. Current Gainesway stallion manager, Carl Buckler, trained under Taylor.
So what year did you start over here?
Started here in 1966.
Buckler was 16 years old when he began earning a paycheck at Gainesway Farm.
I'll give credit to John Gaines. He found a great owner, Graham Beck.
South African businessman Graham Beck already owned a few farms, but nothing like Gainesway, which he purchased in 1989, eventually acquiring all 3 farms, Gainesway, the C.V. Whitney Farm, and Green Tree Stud. He entrusted his son Anthony to run it.
It's got everything. I mean, the farm has everything. I've managed a couple other farms. I've been on a couple other farms. This truly is the epitome of a farm that you'd want to raise horses on.
The Beck family preserved the history while also enhancing the land.
Mrs. Rona Beck, Anthony's mother, was a driving force on the landscaping and the development of, you know, the trees here and the planting.
We have a mission. Our mission here is to enrich the natural beauty of this landscape by collecting native and adapted woody and herbaceous plant species from around the world.
Gainesway is the only horse farm in the world with accreditation as an arboretum.
We act as a satellite garden for the U.S. National Arboretum.
Yes, Gainesway is not just a horse farm, it supports our National Arboretum in Washington, D.C.
What we're doing is we're helping to conserve plant material that is threatened and endangered from around the world. So we have living representations of that material here so that it can be propagated later.
And what's good for plants and trees is good for horses.
Well, there's no question. You know, the history proves it. You can feel the ground we're standing on here. It's like 18 feet of topsoil.
Gainesway has excellent soil, and that shows through the horses and it shows through the plant material as well. We're really blessed with very deep, rich organic soils here.
The great thing about the ground here is a lot of ground in Kentucky has a lot of limestone in the dirt, which you get the nutrients out of the bluegrass, and it's great for horses because it gives them stronger bone.
From where Keeneland is, north and east around this direction, the land has proven very valuable in its ability to raise top racehorses.
And precisely the reason Central Kentucky is the thoroughbred capital of the world. From the Whitneys to the Gaines to the Becks, this particular plot continues to deliver. Look no further than this year's Derby contenders for proof.
Tappet this year has some top prospects. It's really great to see the UAE Derby winner, Lanny.
Lanny gets to you, change.
I'm sure he'll be in the trifecta, or super at least.
Lonnie is one of 3 potential Derby starters sired by Tappet.
As Mohaymen pulls away.
Mohaymen is another and was the favorite to defeat fellow unbeaten Nyquist in the Florida Derby, but instead finished 4th.
Just draw a line through that last race. It was very hot, humid. He didn't like it. He didn't warm up well.
Tappet had a pair of sons square off in the Arkansas Derby, Cupid and Creator.
It's Creator to win the Arkansas Derby.
Cupid won't run in the Derby, but Creator will, giving Tappet a trio of colts in the run for the Roses.
He just delivers, and I fully expect him to deliver the first Saturday in May.
Which would just add to the illustrious list of winners this farm has produced for more than a century.
Anthony and his family have a huge passion. Their passion for the business will last forever.
Graham Beck passed in 2010, his wife Rona last year. Their son Anthony has made Gainesway his home and has continued its prosperity. From stallion manager Carl Buckler, who's been here for 50 years and lives on the farm.
I know I always tell the guys, you know, they give me the job here, they pay me to work here. And some people say, really?
To the team tasked with enhancing the farm's beauty.
Gainesway is truly an amazing place to work. I don't think you can really take for granted the beauty of the place and the history of the grounds and the people that have been here before you.
They care about the land, they care about their trees, their plants, they care about the people that works for them, and they love their horses.
This historic property could not have found better stewards than the Beck family. And the mission today remains as it was in 1915 when H.P. Whitney's filly, Regret, won the Kentucky Derby.
Our main goal is like everybody else's. Our main goal is to raise a Derby winner.
Lanny in front.
Now, will you guys go?
Mohaymen pulls away.
Oh, we'll be there.
It's Creator to win the Arkansas Derby.
We'll be there rooting on the gray.